Hello and welcome back to Lean Into Your Light. I am Kimberly K French and I am here with
Lorrie Urbaniak, welcome, welcome. Guess what happens this Saturday night or early Sunday morning?
What Happens.
The clocks change.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to
Uh,
spring forward.
Oregon just voted to do away with it as soon as
Oh,
Washington and California do away with it. It's like, oh, okay, well then we're never going to do that.
well, the bill is sitting in Washington waiting to be signed to just go away with it, do away with it.
Yeah,
And I still can't understand the argument to keep it. There's nobody that's going to convince me that it's a good thing. So
yeah.
that's just what I'm going to go with. So today we discussed a little bit right before we hopped on here about what we'd like to discuss. And we came
Mhm.
up with when we get in a funk, in
Mm.
a depressive state, in an anxiety ridden state, in something that is keeping us from shining our light brightly enough. So that's what we were going to talk about today, shining our light, even though we feel kind of poopy sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just coming off of a funk myself. And I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly K, you've got tools. Use your dang tools. But and again, I didn't want to use them some mornings. Some mornings I just don't want to get out of
Right.
bed and I'm like, I don't care about my tools this morning. I just want to be here and lay down and go through whatever I'm going through. Um, and I know that there's a time for that, but there's also a danger of letting that go too long, right? So what's that balance? What is that balance is the thing I've always got to ask myself is like, okay, how long am I going to sit here and feel the feels? Because that's important. Feel whatever you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then what's the time when you say, okay, that's enough, and let's bring out those tools and move forward. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. I think that's really tough to know when you're crossing that line into being, let's just call it unhealthy,
Mm-hmm.
where you just don't get up. So I think that's just, again, tapping into that trust feeling that you have. And I had that going on this weekend, and it wasn't so much depression, but it was anger. I don't like being angry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like having that. And I was just,
Mm-hmm.
one night literally didn't sleep except for 2 hours the whole night. It was terrible because of something that had happened the previous day. So I was very angry, and I just kept going over and over. And I was like, hold on a minute. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this with love and look at it through a lens of love and not anger, but acknowledge you were angry and
Mm-hmm.
then move into something else. And I felt so much, my body felt different. And it's hard when you're angry at someone to send them love and light and to let them know, energetically that you care about them, but you can't be present in their life now. So
Yeah.
it was hard, but I really felt a big shift in putting the, let's say, rose-colored glasses on and taking a
Mm-hmm.
look at the situation from that angle instead of that, I'm never going to talk to them again. I'm not going to. Well, fine, don't, but do it with love.
Yeah.
Know why you're doing that. So,
Yeah. That's a good
yes, I
point.
have had that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I know it's
I've
hard
often,
though.
it is
Go ahead.
hard. I've often referred back to like a therapist, and you're a therapist, so I like your take on this. Years ago, a therapist told me that a lot of depression is anger turned inwards. And for me, that's proven to be true if I really investigate. Like, I'm angry, like this last time. And most depressive episodes for me go back to being angry that I'm letting other people's agendas override my
Mm,
agendas. Right. And I don't always
mm-hmm.
recognize it. So I go down the path of like, oh, why am I so depressed? Why don't I want to get out of bed? And then I get to the place where like, oh, yeah, I'm still like people pleasing. I'm letting other people's opinions of what I do shine
Yeah.
brighter than my own opinion of what I should do with my life and not trust my inner guidance. We talked a lot about
Yes.
inner guidance here, but that's what it snapped
Mm-hmm.
me out yesterday. It's like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm doing again. Stop, stop, stop. And take your power back.
Yeah. Yes. It's bringing it up to the surface, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that depression is a choice, because sometimes, you like get over yourself. But I think that's true with anxiety as well. You're not being
Mm.
you, and you're
Hmm.
spinning out of control, panic, trying to be something for someone else.
Mm.
So I think, when you're not authentic, it can hit you as depression, yes. Anger, because why did I do that? I know better. I'm not being
Mm.
me, or the anxiety and
Yeah.
the panic of, but I got to please them. I got to be who I think they think I should be. And you
Hmm.
get all muddled up because you're not just being you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think those two I deal with a lot. Almost everybody that I talk to, anxiety or depression at some point, at some level.
Yeah.
And the thing that they have, well, that they tell me, that has really worked, and I've done it personally too, is the pause, notice, and choosing your
Mm.
responses. Because when
Hmm.
you are depressed, you just kind of wallow. And
Yeah.
when you're in a overthinking, spiraling thing, that's what you do. So pause all of that and notice what you're doing, just like you did. I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to please other people. That's why I'm feeling sad. Then you're going to choose how you respond. And your choice was,
Mm.
I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go down this path that's me, that's happy and bright and shiny, and bye bye to whatever narrative you've created about what people think you should be. So
Yeah.
pause, notice, choose. I think that's such a easy but hard um,
Hmm.
tool. But it's just being very honest with yourself too.
Yeah.
Really, because like you said, I know what I'm doing. That darn people pleasing. Ugh, I
Yeah.
knew it.
But it's
Yeah.
liberating as soon as you do notice. Like once you get to the pause and are willing to pause
Mm-hmm.
and notice. And it's like, oh, now I know what to do. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing that trips me up when I get into like a depressive state is I'll go binge watch Netflix, right? And that's the worst thing you could do for me. That's the worst thing I could do. There's a time and place for binge watching Netflix. I love doing it occasionally. Um, but when you're in a depressive state and you're seeing these stories on the screen, that's like, oh, I wish I were living in that story, right? So I live in a fantasy world. But then I'm also just tuning out my real feelings. I'm not taking the pause. I mean, you could feel like you're pausing because you're, just absorbing what's on the screen. But for me, it's just avoidance. It's avoidance of my feelings. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I realize that, also like, oh, yeah, this is my pattern. I'm avoiding my feelings. Let's go and actually dig into them and start journaling and doing that pause that you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. We've talked about, I think, the pause every
Right.
time. It is so powerful. So
It
powerful.
it really is. It is. And I think that doing the Netflix thing is sometimes it's okay. Maybe like when you're overwhelmed and you can't do much more than zone out, and you kind of have a one track mind, and you just need to just pretend that you're in fantasy world for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that happens. We all do that.
Yeah.
I have a client that does that. She's got a little tiny baby, but she watches the Real Housewives series, and it's not real. So she I mean, it is, but it's not. So she watches
Yeah.
that and goes someplace else for a little bit, and it comes back to the real world. So,
Hmm.
you know, I know that that can be a tool, but yeah, sometimes we could just watch it to not check out and just watch TV.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
overall that's what TV does for us anyway. Is
Yeah.
sends us somewhere else, you know.
It does. Stories. I mean, you're a writer. I'm a writer. I love to read. We both love to read.
Yeah.
So I think those stories take us someplace else, and that TV is the same.
Yeah.
So tips and tricks: pause, notice, and choose.
Yep.
That's one. I mean, I think that's
I
like the
see.
big one. Is there anything else that you tell your clients?
Yeah, well, I do the just acknowledge it. It's okay to have these feelings too. I think sometimes people shy away from the feelings that they're having
Mm.
because
Hmm.
they don't think it's okay to be angry, or
Yeah.
they don't know how to be angry, because that's one of those scary emotions, that you're not supposed to be angry. Well, I mean, we're human, we get angry.
Yeah.
It's how
Yeah.
we express our anger and how we hold on to our anger that then becomes maybe problematic or unhealthy.
Yeah, I
That's how I
wonder how
think.
our culture, and I don't wonder, I've thought about this a lot, but our culture is really taught that you have to be like one level like of emotion. And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
often envy other cultures who get to like scream and shout when somebody dies, right? They
Yes.
wail. They wail because
Yes.
that's what our body's
Yes.
feeling and letting it out.
Mhm.
And we sit there and
Mhm.
we'll take a little tissue and we'll go, and it's
I
like,
mean,
we're not letting the
yeah.
emotions out. I mean, my dad died when I was 7, and that was
Mm.
everybody just like could not let the emotions out. And it's like,
Mm.
wow. And it has had a lifelong impact on all 5 children.
Wow.
And you can tell and how they, just like hold back and they're just reserved. And it's like, I'm done with it. I got so pissed off at that. I'm like, I'm done with that. But still coming out is not easy. So, I still have to grapple with how do I be honest with my emotions? Because that's my life path, I think, is being honest with my emotions. And yeah, I think in our culture it's not easy, but necessary.
No, it's not. Yes, it is, but we don't have a lot of good, role models. Who do if you can think like, hmm, who's somebody on TV or something that has been angry that hasn't been kind of scary, right? When people get
Mm,
in a movie or TV or whatever, what do? They get angry and they punch people or they kill people or they destroy
hmm.
rooms or it's anger is shown as being destructive
Yeah.
and scary. Like, I don't want to be around
Yeah, I
being
don't want to be
someone who's
that.
angry. They're going to get you mad and yell at me and I'm going to have to fight back, like, woo. So,
Hmm.
okay, how can we have those angry feelings and it not be as scary? Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. Maybe you just say, I'm angry. I'm feeling rage in my body and my body feels hot. I have a lot of energy. I need to move. I need to
Hmm.
go run or I need to be outside. I need to move my body. I need to release it because it's just energy that needs to come out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think I can't remember if I was talking about this young man. He went blind in like 2 weeks. And so
Mm,
he's very angry because it came out of nowhere. And how
sure.
does this guy, be angry now that this has really happened to him? So he's able to go on his treadmill and run and lift some weights, and that helps him to release some of the anger. But
Yeah.
I think the key is moving your body. I don't know.
I think so. I think that helps me for sure.
Hmm.
And I've seen, my husband, when he gets angry, he has to go for a run.
Hmm.
I think there's something to that. And I think having those tools ready, we talked about tools last time. I mean, always having tools like, okay,
Hmm.
it's okay to have all the emotions. It's okay to cry. It's okay to get angry.
Hmm.
It's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
So it's okay. And then having those
Hmm.
tools, right?
Yes.
I love like when you are angry, go and punch a pillow, right? Go
Yeah.
boxing in the gym,
Yeah.
right? Go running, whatever it is for you.
Hmm.
I dance. Like it'll change my whole mood when I put on like Rihanna
Hmm.
or, Demi Lovato or whatever and put on a female
Yeah.
power song because it's like,
Yeah.
get it out of your body. But if we just sit
Yes.
with it, it just wallows.
Yes.
In one
And
moment, my dog cannot be outside of my door. Come on, come on, princess.
Princess. Oh, hi, Princess.
Well, I call her princess because she wants to be treated like a princess. She's
We
Roxy.
used to have a cat named Princess. She was our
Uh,
love. And the other thing too, with any of these emotions that we're talking about, these really extreme ones, is to remember to breathe. Because have you ever seen someone who's crying uncontrollably? They're not breathing. They're
mm,
so remember to, if you can, pause and take a deeper breath every so
mm-hmm,
often while you're experiencing these emotions. I think that
mm-hmm.
is a nice calming thing to do, is to take a really deep breath through your nose.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels so good just to do that when you're not upset. So doing that
Yeah.
and holding it a little bit and letting it go really long. Oh, yes. Let go of some of those feelings through breath. I think that's
That's
important.
important. Very
Yeah.
important. Wow, so many
Yeah.
things to remember, and they're always right
Yes.
here with us, right? Everything is always within us.
Hmm.
It's the pausing, it's the
Right.
acknowledging, it's the choosing, it is the deep
Hmm.
breaths, it is the moving your body, moving energy through your body to release it.
Hmm.
And they're all right there.
Yeah.
And I find myself
Yeah.
really stubborn sometimes, like, I don't want to move my body. I don't want to do that. And I get stubborn. But I'm like, but
Hmm.
once I move through whatever that stubbornness is, there's so much relief knowing that those are the things for me to do.
Hmm. Yeah. But it's also giving yourself permission to lay in bed too, if you want to,
Hmm.
for a little bit. Give yourself permission, be kind to yourself. And,
Yeah.
maybe put like a timer on your phone and be like, okay, I'm giving
Mm,
myself 30 minutes and I'm done.
yeah.
And when that
That's
alarm
really
goes
good.
off at 30 minutes, up, hold
Yeah.
yourself accountable.
Yeah.
You're going to feel better when you get up. But if you're not ready, give yourself 30 minutes or 20 or 10, however, an hour. I don't know. Not more. I wouldn't go
Yeah.
more than an hour though, because that could really
Yeah. I
start
think
to.
that's for all those emotions that we don't want to feel, right? It's like,
Hmm.
give yourself permission for 30 minutes to feel the anger.
Hmm.
Um, and then put it on a shelf and come back to it when, it's convenient. Because sometimes anger comes when it's not convenient, right? You're at a business meeting, you're with your kids.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So you'd have to like set these little boundaries around it and say, no, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to go to this other room if I can, and feel it, journal it, whatever it is, and then come back
Yeah.
and be a centered person.
Well, and I had, all of my kids played sports. And so that can produce all sorts of emotions for the parents. And I'm telling you, my
Mm,
kids played from age 3 through college. So I got every age group, every level, I mean, I went from little kids to age group to travel, elite teams
mm,
to
mhm,
Division 1 football. I mean, everything. So there was a 24-hour rule in our house that
mm,
we kept because, every kid had to process their game or their event, whatever, differently. I knew that. So,
mm,
my one son, he just had a bitch the whole time if they had a
mm,
crappy game, like on the way home. "Nya, nya, 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 nya." And then we always had to go get these chicken strips at whatever time it was in the drive-through. And I'm like, oh my God. But we did, it was like our thing. That was what he had to do.
mhm,
Everyone had but to really, like, if we had to complain to the coach or whatever, it was 24 hours wait, because there's a reactivity to anger as well too. So,
mm,
again, pause, but give yourself the 24-hour rule, then review. Is it worth
mm.
being angry about in the first place? You
Yeah,
know, because there's a reactivity. You feel it in your gut. Like there's
yeah,
some shit that happened in my family Friday
mhm.
night, and my whole gut clenched when I heard this story, and I wanted to go tear somebody. I was like, let me
Oh,
at him. Mess with my kid? I will knock you out, right? Hold
mm.
on, right? Take it back, take it back, take it back. And that's when I was talking about earlier, where I switched to being really freaking mad to send them some love, send them some light.
Mm,
And I felt better. Because what does
yeah,
anger do to you too? If you're angry at somebody, they don't know it. They don't give a crap. It tears you
yeah,
up inside. We have all heard this
right,
before a million times, right? Anger only affects you inside, not the other person, really.
yeah.
Um, so giving yourself that gift of letting it go is important too.
Yeah, no, and knowing when to do that versus but, take that 24-hour rule also, like, if you wanted to, like, say something to that family member, right, at 24 hours, you could do it calmly and with poise versus needing to, rip into them, this ripping into them
Yeah.
never serves any purpose, right? But if you take that
It's not
pause,
productive.
it's not productive. But you take that pause, but then
Yeah.
still get the message across in a calm state, And then you can feel like you've
Mm-hmm.
completed it and moved on and feel good about yourself
Mm-hmm.
afterwards too. It's like, okay, I stood up for
Yes.
myself in this conversation. I dealt with my
Yes.
anger. I have a brother, which, I have to practice with often. So, um,
I
yeah,
do
it's
too.
been good practice though.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is. And it's life. This is what life looks like. Is us
Yeah.
getting these lessons and learning these lessons and keep moving forward. It's all about the
Yeah.
lessons that we learn. Because you know what? When you learn them, guess what? You don't have to keep doing it. You're good for a little bit. I think that's what I think happens anyway. If you learn a big
Mm.
lesson, you sit with it for a little bit and you enjoy the level up that you've gotten to. And then guess what? Wham, here's another one. Figure it out. And then here we go. So sometimes they take longer than others. And I feel like
Mm.
you're juggling a lot of them sometimes at the same time. That's when the overwhelm, the depression, the anxiety hits maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that. Can you hear the dog barking, by the
Yeah.
way?
Yeah.
He's
That's okay.
outside next door. His name's Billy. He's not my dog. Um,
Oh,
yes, Billy is a
interesting.
very active young man over there. He makes sure that nobody's getting in their yard. Um,
Uh,
but anyway,
Roxy makes sure no squirrels,
oh,
skunks, opossums, anything gets in our yard.
good for them. Good for them. Right. So yeah. So how do you get to the happy times after you are feeling these funks and maybe reactivity towards a situation, person, thing? How do you get back and know that you're back and then make sure you acknowledge that? Like, ooh, that was a bumpy ride, but I'm back. I
Yeah.
guess what I'm asking is, do you acknowledge that you went through the turbulent times and now they're on the other side of it? Because I think if we forget to do that, then it all blends together.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm trying to think of, I did acknowledge that yesterday was the shift for me. Like I had that shift of thinking. And I went, inside, talked to my guides and, different things that I do with my angels and,
Hmm.
got to see what it was. And I said, okay, what do I do about it now? And they're like, whatever you do, talk to your inner child because your inner child knows exactly what you need to be doing. Because Kimberly K, you take life too seriously. Go play with your inner child and do whatever your inner child tells you to do. You'll be just fine. And I'm like, oh, so to your point, like, okay, I'm acknowledging it right now with you, but I think I need to acknowledge it with my inner child and go do something just for myself
Hmm.
and her that
Hmm.
really makes us feel like I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. I love you. And we're going to get through this. It's been a bumpy
Yeah.
ride for most, these, whenever there's depression or anxiety or whatever.
Hmm.
And it always comes back to the same thing for me, right? My inner child wants to be listened to. It doesn't want to be like burned out, doesn't want to be like forcing, like white knuckling through life, right?
Mm-mm.
Nobody does. Um, but if I can think and have compassion for my inner child, that's when things shift. And so I like that you're saying, listen, I have to acknowledge it. I'm acknowledging it right now. But at the same time, I think there's a celebration to be had saying, hey, we got
Uh-huh.
through that. We got through that piece.
Yes. That's so
Yeah.
funny you say that because I got the same message to play.
Mm,
And they were like, you've never done that in your entire life. I know you
mm,
don't know what play looks like, but figure it out. And so
figure it out.
I was like, I've always been, I had a job since I was 12
Mm.
and then
Me too.
raised 4 kids. I've
Yeah.
always been responsible.
Yeah.
And so the playing and the being irresponsible never really happened. Not that playing is irresponsible, I didn't mean that. But
I know.
um what does that look like? So I
Hmm.
asked them, what does that look like? Because I don't have any idea. And they're like, dancing, same as you.
Mm.
So I
Hmm.
said, okay, I can do that in my home and I can do that more often. And because I have music playing almost all the time.
Hmm.
So just start moving a little bit. Move your body was the other thing that I got. Move your body, have some fun and dance.
Mm.
And then it will lead to more and more fun because
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm kind of confused about what fun looks like, especially now.
Maybe we should be talking about that going forward on some podcast, because back in January I started making a whole bunch of videos. I started a YouTube channel, and I was like, this is going to be the year of play. And
I remember.
then I hit a few road bumps, and I stopped making videos because, like you, I was like, what the hell do I do with that? And my sister asked me a question. She goes, well, how do you define play? Right? Because play is different for everybody, right? It could be sports, it could be dancing, it could be board games, it could be just enjoying your life, right? Just finding joy. And I think I've discovered for me that it's very multifaceted, right? The older I get, and the more serious, I know I've been very serious in my life. I just started an exercise program, and I would have never thought that exercise was play, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the camaraderie with the group. I'm enjoying, being held accountable to wake up and do my exercise program. I'm having fun with it. And so it's,
good.
Joining an exercise group can be play. And so I'm gonna start making videos again and say, hey, I went on this February hiatus because I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it. But here's my journey. Because I think there's a lot of us who started work early, who take life too seriously, and just kind of loosen up a little bit, even in our day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that next time, because I want to know more. I need help. I don't know what that looks like.
Let's help each other.
I don't know. And I don't like saying I don't know, but I don't know. I really don't. I have never done it. So, yes, I'd like to talk more about that. How do we find joy and lightness and play in our lives?
Yeah, let's tackle that next time.
And play.
And play. Let's tackle that next time. Yes. Because it's really important. And both of our inner guidance systems are saying, do it. And
yes.
I want to be more goofy too. I'm goofy in my personal life, but I don't let a lot of people see how goofy I am. I think we could be goofy here and it'd be really nice, really fun.
Yeah. Yes. I'd like to try.
Yes. All right. Are you goofy in your personal life?
Oh yeah, I can be really funny. I live by myself though, so I crack myself up all the time. I say some really funny things.
All right.
No one else hears.
Let's crack ourselves up.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So play and enjoying our life. We're going to talk about that next.
Yes. Love it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Okay. Always look forward to our conversations, Lorrie, and I will see you next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.